I'm going to tell you something. The first thing I had to learn, I've said this before, is to learn how to learn. It's the most important tool I've developed. Dare I say I'm excellent at learning because I know how to learn. So when I'm in beginning something, I have my way of learning, I apply it, and I learn. I don't have an issue with learning. I don't feel bad when I don't know something. I don't feel I suck when I'm a beginner. I don't go through a process where I feel like I'm shit and I'm suicidal because I'm a beginner. Zero. I don't have a problem with this. I don't say I suck when I'm confronted or challenged by somebody who has more experience in the field that I'm learning. I don't feel inferior, but I respect a person who has more knowledge or more experience than me, and I feel comfortable being in a place where I have to learn something. If I choose to learn, of course. If I don't want to learn, go fuck yourself. But if I'm interested in learning, I seek out people who are more experienced than me, because how am I going to learn? And I seek out people who have more experience and are better than me, without which it's going to take me forever to learn. And I still learn my way, because I have my own, I'm my own person. Some people learn this, like this, like this, like this. I have my own particular kind of way of learning. I'm autodidact. I learn on my own, but through reflecting, dancing, moving, conversating, exchanging with others. But I have my way of learning. Yeah, I don't see the problem with this. And when I see kids your age, the so-called young men in their mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, well, this is my opinion. A lot of you people have a learning disability. You're literally unable to learn. You act. So you're not a man. Instead of learning how to be a man, you act like a man. You don't know how to fight. Instead of learning how to fight, you act like you know how to fight. You don't know how to fuck a girl. Instead of learning how to fuck a girl, you act like you know. Everything in our modern generation is acting. Unfortunately for you, you're surrounded mostly by actors, so actors won't necessarily call out other actors. Everybody plays. The girls you're surrounded with are interested in are actresses, and sometimes an actress rejects an actor. But did you learn? I have no opinion, I have no judgment. I've gone through this phase of my life, and I realized for me, the root cause of suffering is ignorance. This is in my book, and I could explain it to you, and it would take me 30, 40 minutes, breaking it down like a superhero. The root cause of suffering is ignorance. Therefore, the solution is knowledge. Knowledge is not information. So I'm looking to appease my suffering. The fact that I don't know something is the reason I'm suffering. So I'm not going to go learn? So I can maintain a facade. I ain't got nothing against the facade, but at the end of the day, I'm suffering. So who's the idiot? I am. So I don't do idiots anymore. I've been an idiot. I've had my share. I had a good career of being an idiot. And if I can go back in time and talk to my own self, let's say in my early 20s, I'd be like, well, generally when I want to learn something, I'm a good student, even back then. Well, I said, you relax, man. We don't learn everything in a day. You're not going to become a master at whatever it is that you're learning in a day or a week or a month or a year or 2 or 10. It's going to take you some time. So why don't you enjoy the ride? Because in fact, you enjoy what you're learning. But the immature is always looking for, I want to name, fame, and glory. I want to be recognized. I want to be appreciated for the supreme better one. They're only looking for the outcome of success. Not understanding that success is built over years, decades, an entire life. And you'll never have it unless you dedicate yourself to something, and it takes time. So this is a learning disability. You don't want to learn. All you want is the prize. So that makes you a bitch. That's it. You a bitch. End of story. There's nothing more to say. You ain't got no love for the game. Doesn't matter what the game is. Let's say it's basketball. Let's say it's chess. Let's say it's fucking violin. You ain't got no love for the game. So you think the game is going to give you something if you don't love it? Life is about love. You don't love the game. You don't love whatever game it is. You think you're going to get something out of it? This shows your immaturity. And the people that you see are successful, well, I will not, there's always exceptions. There's always extremely good fakers. Yeah, but the fact that they're good fakers that means they're pros at being fakers. They've been practicing for decades. And the rest of them, will have some kind of mastery at some degree, at one thing or another. It's not from like this. Come on. Humility, I've said it before, is in the light or in the face of something greater than yourself. A humble, intelligent person is somebody who stands in front of the ocean and says, this thing can swallow me up and destroy me. And it's filled with all kinds of life forms. And these life forms, I can't even see them, nor recognize them. They're like transparent sometimes. And there's big ass fucking sharks. And this thing, this water, can eat me, swallow me. It has all kinds of currents and movements. And God knows what it's going to do. Just a wave, just out of nowhere. One time I was in the ocean, out of nowhere, there was no big waves. A big wave comes. Why? And crushes me. Why? Because it can. Why not? Humility means you recognize that something is greater than you. It's not fake. It's based on like, well, the ocean is much more powerful than me, and I'm scared. When I was a kid, I was never scared because I was a moron. I'll also stay very much in the shallow, and it's a certain kind of beach, and you know what to expect, right? But when you go towards more raw beach, you're like, this is scary. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know how it works. I don't understand rip currents. I don't understand nothing. I don't understand how it works. I'm not educated. I don't know how to respond. But I can feel it when I go in. It's not like a docile little Caribbean. No. It's like it has a mind of its own, if we can say it like this. I feel intimidated. I don't know anything about the ocean. I think I do. I've been swimming in the ocean since I'm in my mother's womb. Yet here I am. I don't know. That's the truth. So humility arises. It's not fake. It's not a false humility trying to pretend that you're like. No. It's like this is greater than me. This is called intelligence. Intelligence means you recognize what is more than you, and therefore you are humbled in front of it, and then you have no choice but to respect it. Right? You go to the zoo, right? There's a tiger there. This motherfucker, if you would see him in the wild, you'd run. You wouldn't even know what to do. You'd probably freeze. He's behind a cage, maybe windows, and you're gonna like tease him and do whatever the hell you want. Yeah, it's cool. You don't have no respect because you're not really in the presence of that raw power, and you feel safe and protected. And it goes into your head, and your mind is confused. You're suffering of mental delirium. But when you confront it with the truth, it doesn't need to tell you anything. You're just going to stop. You can feel its might. That's called respect. And respect comes from intelligence. That's what I meant. If you're hiding behind a little glass window or a little cage, there's no respect. You don't know. So this is how one learns. And in any field of knowledge, when you enter into the field, well, when you're very much at the beginner, you don't really know what you're getting into. So you like, go at it, I'm going to do it, I'm better than everybody, I'm going to show you, yeah, I'm going to do this. You did this, it's 10 years you're in the game, I'm going to do this in a month, man. You don't know nothing, right? And you see a person is doing this for 4 years. I'm like, that's it, that's all you get in 4 years? You'll see me in a couple of weeks, man. Because you're so stupid, you don't even recognize, you don't even understand what you got yourself into to be able to have enough intelligence to respect what you're in. Then a couple of weeks into the game, whatever it is, then you start to like, damn, this is hard. There's a lot to learn. And then you start to appreciate the people who have a little more experience than you because you're like, I can't do that. And they're more skilled than you. And as you gain more experience, then you gain more perspective and you start to have more respect. It's the opposite. Generally, if you're sane, the more you get to learn a craft, the more you realize how big it is, the more you start to respect it, and the more you develop humility. And that's why we say a master is the most humble, because he's the one who's reached the highest level of understanding or knowledge and knows how big or infinite this knowledge, this breadth of knowledge is, and therefore is humble. That's what the so-called analogy of the Karate Kid with Mr. Miyagi, or I don't know which version of Karate Kid you know, but right, this is what it represents. This Yoda character, some kind of, he's a sage. Well, what makes him a sage? That you understand that whatever you're studying is so great, and no matter how much you know, what do you really know? And you love it. And you always want to be in a place where you can learn and receive the most because you're in love with this. This is what nourishes you and feeds you, not the false applaud by a bunch of morons who don't know fuck all. Unless you've held an electric guitar in your hands and played for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you can't really understand what Jimmy Page is able to do. You can appreciate it to a certain degree, but you don't really get it. I learned the tabla, Indian tabla, right? Everybody likes Indian tabla, who knows it. You see Zakir Hussain, it's like, okay, right? You sit down on tabla, you do this a couple of weeks, couple of months, and you're like, this guy's insane. Your understanding of what he's doing just, I'm like, how do you do this? At first, you're not even smart enough to understand that what he's doing is radical. So what I'm trying to say is that that's where wisdom comes from. You're not looking anymore for the name, fame, and glory and the applause by a bunch of morons who don't know nothing about your craft. But what you're looking for is, I want to be continuously nourished by the art form or the spirit of the art form that I'm studying. And at best, I want respect by the other elders who understand the nature of the game, who've been through it, who've mastered it, and then there's a recognition, because that's the only thing that's worth. It's like a master recognizes a master. I'm like, I see you, son. You keep it up. But people such as yourself and the rest of your generation, it's not even a generational thing. It's a modern world affair. It's like, you don't give a fuck about it. You don't got no love. All you want is applaud. You want to be nourished by people's applause. Well, clearly you never got any applause, because if you get an applaud, you see you get high, and then it comes with a boo, and you get low, and then you get smart and say, this is bullshit. First of all, you don't even understand how good I am. So what values your applaud? Like if we were really genuine about the game, right? So I'm a musician. Let's use that as an example. Wow, you don't even understand how good I am. Your applaud is worthless. If we're talking about an applaud recognizing, validating me, you can't validate me. Your applaud doesn't understand. You don't understand what I went through, what I've learned, and how fucking hard that is. It's a sitarist who plays sitar and pulls the string. It's nothing. It's like, no, you gotta actually play sitar, which I have. I'm like, no, this is hard as fuck to get the exact note and to like bend it and stay with it and just until it's like quiet, but it's still reverberating. You can't understand that. You never tried. So I'm going to feel good about myself when I'm receiving applause by people who don't even understand the craft. I don't care. It's Kevin Durant's style. I don't care what you say. You don't understand what I'm going through. It's great that people are enjoying my game. If you know anything about Kevin Durant, at least the brand, Kevin Durant is like an archer, right? He only cares about the sport and perfecting his game. He doesn't give a fuck what anybody says about his skill. No, how could you? What do you know about what I do? You're lucky enough to watch. You cannot fathom what I'm doing. So what is your applaud or your boos really? What does it really mean? To me, as a lover of a craft, who's dedicated to a craft and studying and being nourished and sustained and held up and enlightened by a craft and the spirit of a craft. What the fuck does European mean? Stephen A. Smith, who cares? You don't play basketball. What the hell do you know? You're an entertainer at best, an analyst. That's fine. Respect. This is part of the game. This is part of the industry. But you have no opinion. So when you become a sage in this regard and you're good at something, you start to not care anymore about what another person has to say, because they know nothing. So you get full of yourself because an ignorant person says you're good? No, you care about the people who are at the top. And the people at the top share one thing in common: they're lovers of the game. Whatever sport, whatever activity, whatever craft, whatever art form, they're lovers of that craft. And they're nourished by the craft. The spirit of the craft. How many people get to such a place in their lives? Few. So that's why people celebrate them. Because a few get there. So you want to be loved by people because you're good at something, but you're not really ready to you yourself lose yourself or give yourself to the love of a game, so that you can gain the mastership and the wisdom that comes with it, so that what you offer to people is at the highest level. Nah, I just want to be like, applaud me. This is your people. So I know exactly how that is. I'm from the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. I'm from half-half. So stupidity began in the 90s. Well, the height of stupidity began in the 90s, and you people followed through, and your dumbness is at a whole other level. So we are partly dumb. Not as dumb as you fuckers. So I know exactly what it is. I remember my father looking at me and not understanding what's wrong with me. He just couldn't grasp it. Didn't understand what it is to be injected with the venom of Americana and this modernity bullshit. And all you want is to be applauded and recognized, but there's no interest in learning something and mastering it and focusing and doing something and putting your heart into it. No interest. You just want quick, now, give me the love, give me the applause. Let me be exalted above everybody else and let me get a blowjob. All this for a blowjob. That pretty much sucks. Says a lot about you, man.